The world, as we know, has come to an end. Blood and fire rain from the sky. Hell pits open up. Trans-dimensional portals are changing the fabric of reality. Monsters and ghosts lurk in the streets and prey on mankind. Giant insects, evil aliens, robots, zombies, mutants and demons are causing death and destruction. Every dawn brings a new apocalypse. But we're still here! Mankind didn't perish and we surely won't! Luckily, giant monsters and apocalyptic events turn out to be a bigger threat for each other than for mankind itself. I'm broadcasting from my bunker, bringing you the latest news, best survival workshops, thrilling live coverage, and of course the best music for the modern damned. Welcome to Hell on Earth. This is Radio Apocalypse. Hello fellow damned, how you holding up? Doesn't matter whether you stay underground, hunt or fight, always stay updated. So it's time for our breaking news. 8 legs for a hallelujah. After our streets were infested with flesh-eating maggots the last 2 days, it looks like there's finally a solution. A spider solution! A giant mutant spider from the 3rd dimension slipped out of one of the dimensional portals and started to feed on the maggots. It's currently spinning a giant web at the Walmart on our town's border, so I wouldn't recommend scavenging there for the next few days. Don't worry fellas, there are plenty of other places in town. Soon, this pesky maggot plague will finally be over. On to the next topic. Rioting vampires. Looks like a group of vampire activists declared war on cars and mirrors. The group roams around town, smashing every traffic and wing mirror they can find. The group's leader stated, "Mirrors used in traffic are a major threat for every vampire. Since they can't be seen in them, many are victims of car accidents. With their protests, the vampires want to force people to use their eyes again and to rely more on the shoulder check." The motivation might be noble, but sadly the protesters' actions caused traffic accidents to increase to a never-seen level. And this in a city where cars get smashed by giant burning unicorns on a daily basis. However, on to our next section. News update! Hold on a sec, looks like there's an update on our spider solution. Apparently, to the high amount of food, the spider laid eggs which hatched a few minutes ago. Congratulations to a young spider mummy! Now 30 mutant spiders roam our streets eating maggots alarmingly fast. Soon they'll have them extinct and will then presumably start to search for a new food resource. I suggest everyone who is supplied to stay underground for a few more days. If these apocalyptic times have taught us one thing, then that the problem will sooner or later solve itself. Besides, we don't want these creatures to acquire a taste for human flesh, do we? That's it for today's news. If anything happens, you're going to be the first ones to know. Stay safe and stay tuned for our next section. It's workshop time! Welcome to our weekly workshop. Today it's all about something that's more precious to many of us than a good shower. Food! And for this sweet topic, I invited a guest. You know him, you idolize him, many of you enjoyed his latest creations. The famous end times cook and author of the book 1,000 Ways to Cook a Rat. It's Sewer Eddy!
Morning, fellas.
Eddy was a normal construction worker who turned into a homeless mutant after some acid rain melted his skin off. But that's not the end of the story, isn't it?
Nah, it ain't. Goddamn witches.
Right! A witch used your body to host an ancient god she summoned. After he took over your body, your minds got mixed up and became a new being. Crazy story. Anything you want to add, Eddy?
Hate the witch. Witches taste good. Their flesh tickles the tongue. I'm hungry.
We all are, and I bet our listeners are starving for some new recipes. In today's workshop, we're going to present your latest recipe. So tell us, what secrets can you share with our listeners?
Okay, let's start with some basic rules. There are 3 kinds of animals on Earth that'll never go extinct. Rats, cockroaches, and humans. So don't worry, folks. You'll always have something to eat.
Sorry, Ed, what was the last one?
Never mind, my friend. So let's tackle the recipe. It's called the quick gunpowder fix.
And why do you call it that way?
Cause it's a fast recipe. When your kids won't stop complaining how you gotta feed your mutant dog really fast so he doesn't think of eating you, you better got your rat ready in a few seconds.
Well, great news for every apocalyptic single mom. What do we need?
Just a rat, don't matter if alive or dead. A lighter and a bit of gunpowder.
Pro tip, if you don't have any lying around, just use a screwdriver to open up a few bullets.
Sprinkle the powder on the rat, then rub it. Just rub it quite hard. Any living rat should be dead by now. Take the lighter and blow it up! Gather the remains and enjoy.
A true explosion of taste. The spicy powder really adds to the natural flavor of rat meat. Yummy!
Crispy.
So, that's it for today's workshop. Any parting words, Eddie?
Never eat a female rat. You're gonna need a breeder, you know. And never trust a witch. Kill them on sight. They're never up to any good.
Wise words, my friend. On to the next section.
Check out my latest book. Humans. Easy to hunt, complex to cook.
Okay. We're really running out of time here. On to the next section. Welcome to today's live coverage. We're still sitting at the table, so let's stay with our tasty food topic. Keeping a good restaurant alive and running is as hard as outrunning an avalanche with your 2 kids under each arm while dodging yetis craving young flesh. Mr. and Miss Wong, however, have managed both and kept their kids and their restaurant, the Hachiman, alive in these apocalyptic times. But fortune seems to have run out for them, as the worst thing possible has recently happened. They've ran out of fortune cookies. And as we all know, no Asian meal is complete without a cookie and a little good fortune. Rumors say the Wongs are currently working on a solution. To find out more, we will now give over to our investigative reporter Norman, who's at the front of the Hachiman at this very moment. How's the situation, Norman? Thanks. People around here are quite optimistic, and I already got to the bottom of their optimism. It looks like the Wongs hired a fortune teller to write new texts for their fortune cookies. People say he's the real deal. We'll see if this is true. I, Norman the Truth Seeker, am going to interview this strange man and seek out the truth. That's strange. Right in front of me there's a tiny old man sitting at a desk dressed in a mechanic uniform, typing on a typewriter. Excuse me, sir, but are you the famous new fortune teller?
That's me, alive and kicking.
May I ask your name?
To be honest, I forgot my name a while ago. Most people just call me Weird-Eyed Willie.
Why's that? And what's your story? Why do you write texts for fortune cookies? What happened to you?
Easy there, lad. Hold your horses. No time to rush.
These days, you never know how much time is left, and it's my duty to reveal the truth before I pass into silence.
I know exactly how much time you have left, young one, so don't worry.
Wait, what?
Well, let's start from the beginning. I was a normal car mechanic. I fixed every damage without any problem. And then one day, I got sucked into the trunk of a car. Turns out the trunk was a wormhole, so I fell through dozens of dimensions and saw some pretty weird stuff until I ended up with a goddess of fate and destiny. She could see through time itself, and she even knew the way back home.
So, she blessed you and sent you back?
Well, not exactly. I ripped out one of her eyes and replaced one of mine with it. Thought it was a good idea. Besides, she was an impolite bitch.
Okay. What happened then?
Well, I found my way back home and gained the ability to see the future. Problem was, when I fixed the car, I could see its future. Could see it eventually break down again, so I fixed the part responsible for this future just to replace it with another version of the car breaking down. So I was caught in an endless cycle of repairing issues that hadn't even occurred. I couldn't finish a single car, so they fired me.
And then you found the Hachiman.
Heh, after I boozed up myself a few weeks, they found me, told me what's up and took me in.
What a story. But tell me, isn't the fortune of everyone in this town rather dark? A dark future without a spark of hope must be very depressing for your customers.
It is, but only when you tell them their future. So we got an idea. We shuffle the cookies. Now, when you read the horrible fate of a person inside your cookie, you don't know whose it is. People tend to have a lot of fun with it.
It's hard to imagine that.
Why? They start to guess who the person is or play little games imagining these are the people they hate. With a glass of wine, this is the perfect dessert.
Well, looks like good news. It seems the Hachiman will survive this cookie famine and should be back on its feet soon. Since there's nothing more to reveal, I'm giving back to the studio. This is Norman the Truth Seeker, and another riddle is unsolved. I'll be out there searching for the answers I owe our listeners.
Yeah, about that, young lad, I see your future bright and clear. You really should calm down a bit. This whole crusade for truth will lead you on a path full of pain and suffering.
Ha! You can't scare me. The truth is worth everything. I am a servant of the people and... Hold on a moment. Outside, just across the street, is a mutant spider fighting a giant blob of chemical waste that's somehow imitating the spider's body. I have to examine this from closer distance.
Hey lads, your servant just got run over by a car. Looks like the poor driver couldn't see him cause some punk smashed all of the car's mirrors. Have fun scratching him off the streets. This is Weird-Eyed Willie, over and out. And don't forget to visit the Hachiman for a good meal and a bit of bad fortune.
Another mystery revealed. I'm sure Norman will be fine, and if not, don't worry folks, I know a death priest who owes me a favor. Norman will report back next week. No rest for the wicked. But now it's getting sweaty. It's time for our sports section. No apocalypse is an excuse to lay off sports, and even the most evil abominations need a little break sometimes. So many groups and monsters banded together and created the Apocalyptic Olympics, or as most people refer to it, the Apo-Olympics. An endless event full of funny games like Alligator Dare, Robo Deathmatches, the Mr. Hell Contest, and many more. Today it's time for a new round of the Undead Minion Eating Contest. We will now give to our sports commentator Steve, who's live on the field where the contest is about to start.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Apo-Olympics. This contest is a chance for all the hardworking minions serving their proud masters to decorate themselves. The rules are easy. Only humanoid corpses are allowed in the contest. They need to have a stomach, a sort of brain, and still flesh on their body. They'll be eating goblin and imp brains, a true challenge if you ask me. Their brains might be small, but are very hard to chew, so prepare to lose some teeth. After some Hell Lords got expelled for wrapping their skeletons in flesh and trying to sneak them into the contest, there are 3 champions left, who now start to march onto the stage. The first in line is Frank, the artificial undead and creation of Doc Knock. Frank's a corpse brought back to life by science. His muscular body has its own electric supply coming from several steam generators integrated in it. But will his rather small stomach resist the sheer amount of flesh? Next in line is Drock, the enchanted ghoul of the Witch Morgana, a former Viking berserk whose corpse is still able to digest food and fuel his barbaric rage with it. Rumors say the more he eats, the more he grows. We will soon find out if they are true. And the last in line is last year's champion Swamp Carl, a giant bloated corpse and garbage dispenser of the Lizard King. His giant stomach and endless hunger outranged every opponent last year. He won as sole survivor after he ran out of brains and started to eat his opponents. These giants will compete in a monstrous contest that's about to start. And the battle begins. Carl is immediately ahead. He throws brain after brain into his maw without even chewing. But Frank starts to catch up. His iron teeth work like a shredder, mincing brains like they're made out of thin paper. I can see steam coming out of his ears. Looks like the engines are running hot. Brock lies behind. He can't really chew the brains and needs to squish them with his bare hands. But it looks like the rumors are true. For every brain he eats, he gets a bit bigger. If he continues like that, his mouth will soon be big enough to copy Carl's tactic. It looks like Frank's engines use the digested flesh to fire themselves up. More and more steam comes out of his ears and now his armpits start to smolder. I wonder if the engines will sustain. What is this? Carl ate so fast his belly cracked. The hole is getting bigger and bigger with every second. Brains start to fall out. Technically, they're still counted as eaten, but what's happening now? Our champion starts grabbing brains out of his belly. He throws them into his mouth where they immediately roll down to the open belly and get picked up again. Since they're already eaten, they don't count. Now he's caught in a cycle that will take his advantage. Looks like our champion is out of the game. In the meantime, Drock has reached the height of a house and just throws hands full of brains into his face. At this rate, the Viking will make the race. His immense body mass starts to push Frank away. Carl is still an unmovable object, so Drock is getting closer and closer to Frank. He now attempts to reach for Frank's brains. It's a head-to-head race here. Frank's engines are at their limit. Steam smolders out of every body part and pure electricity sparks in the air around him. Ladies and gentlemen, you won't believe what just happened! Apparently Frank's boilers were overloaded and he exploded! Since Drock was all over Frank, the explosion also ripped him apart, but his giant body shielded Carl. With his two opponents out of the game, our last year's champion is the winner! The crowd goes wild! What a game! This is worth the Hall of Fame. I will now mix with the crowd and celebrate our town's favorite corpse. Back to the studio.
What a thrilling experience! But before we get carried away too much, it's time for a word from today's sponsor. This episode is brought to you by Abaddon's Torture Dungeon. We are equipped with the latest whips and professional demons of torment. 2000 years of combined Hellpit experience will get you every answer you want. Abaddon's Torture Dungeon. Your pain is our passion. With that said, it's time for our last section. Now it's getting personal. I'll answer all the questions you, my dear listeners, have. Time for some Q&A! Now we read and answer the questions of our viewers. Question number 1. How do you manage to survive? Are you a god or monster yourself? Ha! No, I'm not that high and mighty. When shit hit the fan, my parents revealed that I am the offspring of a lineage of demon hunters. My ancestors prepared for that moment and planned it decades ago. So my bunker is pretty locked down for almost everyone I don't want down here. I'm talking acid traps surrounded by holy water and blessed steel, a few tamed monsters for protection and more stuff like that. It really pays off to have weird end of the world prepper parents with some connections to heaven itself and some rather unholy dimensions. Next question. What do you think? How long until the town is wiped out? With all that apocalyptic stuff and divine magic happening, I don't think this will ever be the case. For every person who dies somewhere, someone starts to clone himself, discover eternal life, got brought back from the dead, and so on and so on. To be honest, I'd be afraid if there'd be only one apocalypse going on, but all these apocalypses together create a pretty solid ecosystem, if you ask me. Besides, you heard all that before. Rats, cockroaches and humans are hard to exterminate. Last question for today. When you and Eddy cooked together, that was a big splash for a rat. Was that some kind of giant mutant rat? Ha! It was one big bastard. Eddy, can you give us some details? Do you breed them anywhere? Is this part of your cattle?
Got him from a warlock who makes things bigger for a special price. Sold him my soul. Guy couldn't say no to a god's soul. But I have to disappoint you. God can't help you anymore. He wanted my soul too soon. And well, let's say there are more problems you can fix with gunpowder than just cooking the rat.
But don't lose hope yet. Maybe you can find his corpse and revive him, or steal his spellbook. You could become the next giant rat dealer. Dream big!
Ain't much left of the corpse, but if you want to try, the rest must be rotting in the North Sewers.
Now I hope your hunger for information is satisfied. This is it for this week's episode. Enjoy another week of Hell on Earth. Stay safe and stay tuned till our next episode of Radio Apocalypse.